Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim.
So I found this really cool. Holy smokes. Did you feel that?
I did. I did. What's
Must be a,
happening?
it must be a Metallica concert.
Of course, that makes sense.
And welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where each week we two guys get together. Yeah, we talk about records. There's going to be a little bit of that today, I think. Just a little, because this is kind of a weird time of year for you.
Yeah, it is. I don't listen to records this time of year. No time.
Oh, well, my name's Jim, and I own a record store.
And I'm Steve. I am a record collector.
And we probably should explain a little bit too. This time of year, being retired. Now you've been retired for over a year,
Yeah.
and yet you're
Yep.
working harder, I think, than you've ever worked.
Yeah, I think I am. There was times, I guess, when I was opening stores and stuff. But yeah, right now at the pool business, we have 2 weeks left to get these pools opened up, people trained, and if it can go wrong, it goes wrong
So
every day.
obviously, Memorial Day is the target date for those who want pools in the Colorado Springs and beyond area.
Yeah. It is, and it has to be done. So we're working. We're going 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and sleep, work, and sleep. That's it.
Wow, and it has. You said it's really taken a toll on your listening and your purchasing, and probably
Yeah.
even on your channel side too. I'd imagine.
Yeah, it has. I don't have. I always had a couple during the midweek, but during winter time, it's quiet. I can do that, and now it's just my thoughts aren't. It's just all focus on work, or if I'm home, I'm just sleeping,
Wow. Well,
falling asleep.
I'm happy you were to take a little bit of time for the new episode today with us.
Of course, we could not miss that. I also do my Sunday show,
Yep.
and I also do this.
Well, we're getting some cool responses from last week's show. We'll talk about that in a second. I probably should explain too, if folks hadn't heard that the little shaking of the earth that you may have felt. We're going to talk about this news from a Metallica concert last week that was earth shattering. Not quite, but
Yes.
earth measuring.
They just had an earthquake, I guess, the other day down in North Carolina, Tennessee. Maybe it was just a carryover.
It was an aftershock, so not
Yeah.
Metallica, but maybe one of their opening acts.
Yeah, it could be, or making its way around. Who knows?
Well, as we do each and every week, we start off our episodes with our most recent pickups. And while you're probably a little behind this time because of your busyness, I'm picking up a little bit here. But I got some cool stuff, and there's some cool stuff on your way. But if you've got something, what's our
Yeah.
pickup this week, sir? How's that?
So here we go, folks. One album.
Oh
That's right.
man,
One album. R.L. Burnside. And this is a ass pocket of whiskey. And R.L. Burnside, he's dead now, but he was down, I believe, he was in the Carolinas, North Carolina. And John Spencer from the John Spencer Blues Explosion had did this album. He went, talked with them, and produced this album. In fact, John Spencer's group backs up R.L. Burnside, which is good. Otherwise, R.L. Burnside's usually one guy kind of beating out a beat and then R.L. playing the guitar. This is very down and dirty, southern gritty blues. It's really good stuff. For those, if you used to watch the Sopranos series, R.L. Burnside had a song that was played a lot on there, which now suddenly has just left my mind. But I like RL a lot. It can be repetitious at times, some of his songs. There's some good albums, not so good albums. This is a good album that I really like. I think the other ones, Come On, it's like him sitting in a taxi. It's really good. So, yeah, I'm happy to pick this one up. It's really cool having John Spencer Blues Explosion, playing on this. It
that's
gives it
cool.
Yeah, it gives it some extra grit. The other thing, it's music related. It's the Punk Diaries, and there's a lot in here. And this is a day by day chronicle of punk music from 1970 to 1982. And there's a radio station here in the Denver area that it's public, like NPR, but they deal with rock and punk. They play everything. Their mix is so incredible, from brand new music to classic music. And they reference this a lot when they have, like on Sundays, they have like a 2 hour punk thing. And so they track through this, what went on this day, and go through it. And yeah, it's just it's chronological, just what was happening in the world of punk.
That is
So
cool.
yeah, the Punk Diary, the ultimate train spotter's guide to underground rock from 70 to 82. Includes a CD. What? I bought it used. I didn't get the freaking
Oh
CD. Oh,
no.
man. Oh, well, there's where the CD would have been. I didn't even know that. I was just I had to go onto the use. It's out of print, so you
Yeah.
can't get it. And so it's not super expensive, but it's not cheap either. And I'm sure if there was the CD, it would have been a lot more. Maybe that's why I got such a good deal on it.
Could be.
Doesn't matter.
What you need to do is
I
look the CD up, find out the track list, and then create yourself a playlist
yeah.
of it.
I feel confident that I would have all the songs.
I was gonna say, I don't know. It's a big book.
Yeah, it's a big book, but it's only one CD, so yeah. There's my punk collection. I gotta have them all. So that's it for me this week, Jim.
Wow. Okay. Well, you have been
So
busy, but
yeah, you got a lot of time to fill up with yours.
I
Take it
do.
away.
I do. I mean, for me, I've got a lot, and I've actually got a couple I'm still working on. I'm going to show next week that we got in. But the biggest one in my pickup this week, and it is headed your way. I think I sent you
Yeah,
some tracking information for a latest package. How long have we been waiting for this, Steve? The Electric Six
man.
and Fire.
We have talked about that album for years, Jim. Since we've come in, just talk about that's like one of the greatest albums ever.
It is, and I think when we did a show on reissues we'd like to see. This was up there with Pompeii, which we
Yes.
now see also. But no, this is heading your way. I don't know why it was delayed. This was released, I think, the reissue. It's technically this is called, I think, a 21st anniversary reissue or
Oh,
something like that, and it was technically, I think, either released way earlier this year or late last year, but for whatever reason there was a delay. We didn't get them. We didn't get them. They were just kind of showing as back ordered on our shelves, and then last week, lo and behold, they showed up, and I texted you and I said, "Man, it's on its way." So nifty little gatefold action happening here with the Electric Six. The vinyl is nothing special. It's a black vinyl, but we'll absolutely take it because it is the Electric Six and Fire on vinyl. Finally.
yeah. Finally.
So I mean, the cool stuff. There's other Electric Six albums that are cool, and I think we've got that one record. I don't know if was that a Record Store Day release of one of theirs where they were known kind of by another name, but it wasn't
Yeah.
quite this. This was the
Hmm.
one we needed. But Dance Commander is on here. Of course, Danger, High Voltage. A couple ones that you really can't talk about or play in the store with families in there. But Improper Dancing. And my absolute favorite on here is just Synthesizer. I think it is just such a fun album and such a cool song as well.
Yeah. I that whole album for me is top notch from start to finish. Uh, Pure enjoyment.
Well, you will have it. Hopefully, you can find time to give it a spin when you get it, like later
Yeah.
in the week.
Yeah.
Secondly, man, I did have a fun week here. I went down to visit our friend down at Jack's Record Stash down in the Linden area. I was
Hmm.
found myself down that way on a day off or two. Had to pick something up for a customer down there. And then I
Okay.
found a nice OG of Fear and the album. I'm sorry, the record Fear. It's the
Yeah.
record. I've had in my collection for a while more Beer, which I remember playing all the time on my college radio days. But this one had kind of escaped me. It's got, let's have a war on here, beef bologna, give me some action, foreign policy. It's when these guys were somewhat, not that they weren't on more beer, but a little political, so to speak,
Yeah.
in their own great way. But yeah, this one originally released in 1981. And I don't know, is this punk, Steve? Do you call Fear? I mean, it is, but where does it fall
Yeah.
in that punk spectrum?
I don't know. Would it go into more of the post-punk type of stuff?
Because it's real gravelly, real gritty. It's not
Yeah.
grind. It's not hardcore punk, but it's
No.
also not straight up punk. It's not really
Yeah.
alternative, but they're fun.
Yes, they are.
Happy to
Yeah.
have that, and they're not. I mean, it's not a tremendously expensive album, but it's also not a $10 one.
Hmm.
Also into the store and into my collection
Ah,
is the Gary Newman, but the Tubeway Army and replicas. It's a good early press from 1979. Obviously, everybody knows Gary Newman from his biggest hit, Cars, but there's a lot of other cool stuff out there. I know you're a fan of some of his later stuff. He released an album, about a year or two ago, that is
yeah.
just it's new punk. Would you call it that? Not even post, but new punk.
It's almost, I would put it more industrial.
Okay, yeah, that
And
yes,
and yeah, I guess he kind of went the Trent Reznor route. I mean,
that's
I
right.
think him and Trent Reznor got to know each other. So
I
yeah,
think
it's dark.
it's dark, but it's interesting to hear where he came from with Tubeway in the late '70s and early '80s into even Cars and the like and Pleasure Principle, but Replicas and that they're both great albums. It's just very electronic, very where's my electric six? Very synthesizery. How's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. His first album, he really didn't use synthesizer much
Hmm.
at all. Very few keys, but then he did the second album there.
Yep.
And that's where he really got into it. And and I remember when I bought, I had Cars. I go, wow, this is a great album. Yeah, I loved it. And then I bought like that, and I bought some of these. Then later on, I bought some of the other ones. I just go, wow, this isn't like Cars or whatever.
Yeah.
But through the years, I've really gotten to like them. But it was just something where you have that expectation. You buy that album because you really like that last one. We've talked about that
Yep.
before. And Gary Newman was one of these, which you could see, at least in the American market, he went to the cutout bin
Yep.
rather fast. His next albums, cut out, cut out. And then finally, we didn't even get them in the States in most record stores.
And you start to realize too, I mean, how influential he was on that subgenre of post-punk, early alternative. Real, I mean, leading the way for things like A Flock of Seagulls into the '80s and such with that very
Yeah.
heavy synth sound.
Yeah, he was, but it just didn't get appreciated in '90s. He almost quit music. I mean, he was just like, is it really worth it? No one cares.
My
And now,
first, yeah, and now, yeah, folks are looking for them, and they're decent when you find them on at price wise. I mean, they're not super cheap, also, but also not
yeah,
way out there like they were. But yeah, my first foray into Gary Newman's music was the song Cars. I think everybody can probably
yeah.
relate to that, but not the album. I found it first on a KTEL compilation called Rock 80.
Okay.
I thought it would, and for an album, you know how we've talked before about how KTEL would be just like, what do you want to put in the next compilation, man? I don't know. Let's call it
Yeah.
Rock 80 and put a synth tune on from Gary Newman, man.
Yeah.
So that always kind of stood out as an oddity on that comp for me. And I still have a copy of Rock 80 because you wouldn't think of Cars being a rock song like a lot of the other ones they put on there.
Yeah.
But it also, struck a little chord with me. This is cool. So when I finally did find a copy of Pleasure Principle that had Cars, I thought, okay, this is it. And the rest of it's pretty decent too.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely through time for me now. I find enjoyment. I bought a number of them, but if you want to get his later stuff, you're going to go triple digits. Uh,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it is insanely expensive.
Yep. And they're hard to get. They went out of print so quickly. I don't know if they didn't make a lot of them or they weren't
Yeah,
expecting a lot to be sold, but it
I
is
think
kind of a
so. Yeah.
polar opposite though from his early stuff. Although
Hmm.
you can still tell that
Yeah.
influence is in there, even if it is industrial.
Exactly. Very much.
Okay. And then finally you're gonna chuckle at me. I don't know, we'll call this an upgrade. It's an
Oh boy.
upgrade, but it's a side grade. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
a Moody
Uh,
Blues. But if you look closely, it is a MoFi, Days of Future Past, the original master recording of that. I had this come in, and it's in decent shape. And I thought about, I had a good early pressing. I didn't have a first pressing of this. I had a good early pressing of it. But yeah, this one came in. It sounds really good, except for the fact that one of the sides and one of the, not the big song on here, but on there is a scuff that gives you a little bit of noise. And so
mm,
that kind of made this difficult for me to say I'm going to put it out on the floor at a good MoFi price, a good 80s MoFi price. I forget when this one was released on MoFi, but I think that was into the, if not the late 70s, early 80s on that. So I thought, well, if it's going to be about the same price as a decent one, a really nice first pressing, I'm going to toss this into my collection because the rest of it does sound really good. You just have to
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
suffer through, and it's always tough when you get a MoFi and it's got an imperfection on it because that defeats the entire purpose of the
True.
audiophile mobile fidelity. So,
Yeah. I have that in MoFi too. I bought actually a few Moody Blues, and I'm not even a Moody Blues fan, but they were a good price. They were MoFi. I thought, well, maybe it'll sound better. I really like them more, and yeah, it's Moody Blues.
so it is, and I feel the same way. I mean, I've got a lot of Moody Blues. Their earlier stuff, I think, the real psych rock stuff is neat. The symphonic psych, if we want to call it that.
Yeah.
When they started getting top 40, like a lot of bands, they started going, it's okay. I don't think I really need that one, but we'll go from there and see. So, well, folks, as always, every week when we do this and show off our pickups and some of the other stuff we talk about, we will put them into a Spotify playlist so you can listen in and see what some of these things sound like, especially that Gary Newman and Fear, for example.
Yeah.
And the Spencer stuff from you, we'll get them in there. If I can find them, we'll put them. But the Spotify playlist, the link to that will be in the description on both the Spotify episode and in the description of the YouTube episode. So when you're done watching and listening to the episode itself, you can click into the playlist and jam out to those. They're fun to listen to, and I toss them on when I'm driving longer distances too. It's like, oh yeah, well, we were talking about that one. That's kind of cool.
Mhm.
And then I hear one of Steve's picks. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Well, that's interesting.
So, before we get into it, we're going to do some shorter subjects today because of just the busyness of going on everywhere for us. But a quick follow up from last week. We did get some neat reactions to our discussion about Vinyl Me Please, and I think I made a comment on one of my other videos. If you look around on the vinyl community on YouTube, last couple of weeks, you're seeing nothing but Vinyl Me Please or Pink Floyd's Pompeii. So we got both of those in,
Yeah.
luckily enough to talk about them, but it's still unfortunate. And our friend TC pointed out a couple of other subscription services, one that had gone under a while ago and one that and I forget the name of it right now. I didn't have a chance to look into it. Sorry about that, TC, but
Black Box?
Black
Is
Box,
that
that was
Black?
it. Yes, thank you. But I didn't get a chance to dig too deeply, but he says they're almost in kind of the same boat
Yeah.
that the customers of Vinyl Me Please. And another comment, I don't know if you caught this comment, Steve, on that episode on the YouTube side. Somebody had mentioned that Vinyl Me Please, the website, is still up and running like
Hmm.
it's normal,
I
like they're
saw that.
taking orders in
Uh-huh.
businesses, which I think is that's a little sketchy on my book, especially knowing, okay,
Yeah.
well, technically, and a lot of the videos I saw too said, "Oh, Vinyl Me Please is bankrupt, or they're going bankrupt." And it's like, well,
Yeah.
technically, but not yet. The liquidation is the
Mhm.
first step in that process, but it's still a little sketchy that they're got their website up with no indication, catching people that may not pay attention to this.
Yeah. That Black Box subscription service was interesting. Again, it's one of those that does not belong to a label,
Yep.
but you would put in like your genre, and they would just pick a couple albums for you and send it to you, and you don't know what you're getting.
Huh.
So if you have a large collection, you know, you get it. Oh, I got it
You're
already,
going to
or
end up with
whatever.
something, yeah. And
Yeah,
I don't know if they did. They probably didn't do the credit system like VMP.
no, I don't believe so. I'm not sure. I don't think anybody's really done the credit system except for them, which sounded like a good idea until it's unmanageable.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God. Wow. I wonder how the accountants looked at that one to go,
They're
we
like,
got a real issue.
there's some problems here. We'll deal with that down. But let's worry about that later. Let's build a
Yeah,
record
yeah.
plant.
Kick the can, baby. Kick the can down the road.
So one of the other things I wanted to follow up on, Steve, I mentioned this on my the record store's live broadcast. I do a live update on our YouTube channel each week. I got a little surprise announcement, not even really an announcement. I just happened to notice it when I went into one of our distributors to place my weekly order. I've drifted over to the turntables. And since the store had opened, we have been carrying Audio Technica turntables. I've had a few other brands here and there. We carried U-Turn for a while, and a couple of other ones, but I've pretty much stuck with Audio Technica simply because of the wide range of models they have available, the relative affordability and the dependability. I mean, they're a decent brand of turntable, albeit made overseas. But
Yeah.
over the past 8 years, I've seen the cost of the turntable, especially their introductory model, which is an LP60X. You know, they had that as a base. I think when we started, I want to say that they were around $100, if not like 80 or 90. They were cheap enough to get going with. And then they bumped up a little bit, and then they bumped up a little bit more, and then they introduced the Bluetooth models, and that bumped it up a little bit because you're paying extra to digitize. So the other day, I'm in the distributor, and I just happened to scoot by the turntables. We've got a couple in stock, but I was thinking about getting a couple of more. And very quietly, the price of every single Audio Technica turntable jumped by $20,
Mm,
which
yeah.
is it's significant, but it's not. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you look at $20, you can spend that on a takeout meal. So
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal when you think of it like that, but it's a big jump in it for a device, a turntable.
Yeah.
So
It makes you wonder when this whole, I don't know, whatever the tariff thing, we get it all figured out, done, will the prices come back down? Or, well, yeah, we got it up there. Hey, people still buy it.
they're still buying it, and that's the big question, then, isn't it? Once it reaches that plateau, will it slide?
Yeah. So I think as far as what viewers and listeners should do, right now there's the big run on cars because everyone's worried it's going to go up in price. Folks, it's time to have a run on turntables because the ports are slowing down. They're not coming in. If you need a new turntable, you can go to Radio Wasteland. They have some there, but otherwise just buy them up. Buy them up because you may not see them. So there
Well,
we have it.
it's that's the odd thing on my live update the other day. I mentioned too. I said, well, you know what? The turntables I have in stock, I got at their old price, so I'm going to leave them at the old price. And I don't know. Maybe you have insight on how big box stores do it, but is it an across the board thing? Let's say that you get a big box store, and I know some of the bigger ones they carry Audio Technica also. You come in a store like mine, I've got maybe 2 or 3 Audio Technica sitting out ready to go, and when those go, I order more. I sell a turntable every few weeks or so, but you go into the big box stores, they've got stacks of 30, 40 turntables. So when that price increase hits, they've got a good stock of turntables that they've had for a few weeks or maybe a month or so, purchased at that old price. Does that price increase take effect immediately on their current product and everything is bumped up, or do they wait until they deplete the stock like I'm going to do, and then you
Mhm.
raise the price when you get new ones? I don't know how that works for stores other than ours.
Generally, once you start bringing it in, that cost, it's gone up. So those are sitting in your stock room. They're going to go through and just raise prices now.
Really?
So it
Okay.
all will go up. It does cover, so you raise those ones at lower cost, that covers some of the costs that now you're incurring with these other ones, unless they passed it all on to you. But it is a way, obviously, to generate more profit. Especially if maybe the sales volume is going to go down, or so yeah, it's just kind of, yeah, hit the button, and
Yeah.
and everyone's changing the signs the next day.
Well, I guess that makes sense, I guess. But again, for a store like ours, and for me, I'm not gonna bother. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'll raise the price when I get a new one in. But yeah, the base model one, the LP60X, that thing has been around for a while. It's a good, dependable, great starter turntable for folks getting into it. That's the one that I think it was under $100 8 years ago, and then it bumped up to a little bit there. But the price prior to this had been 149 suggested retail. and now it's up to 169. And
Well,
the mid grades go up to 219 from 199. So pretty much $20 across the board. And I didn't,
yeah.
not everyone. There was a couple turntable models, I'd take it back, that I think they were newer models that they built the price increase into. But
So overall, depending where they're coming from, the percentages wasn't terrible.
yeah,
What about a 15% on your lower model? Then as they go up, if they all went up $20, that percent went down and down. So depending on I mean, if they're coming out of China and they say 145% tariff, they must
yeah,
be coming out of some other place because $20 is not covering that tariff,
no.
folks.
And it goes a little beyond turntables, though, Steve. The other thing I mentioned in our update is the poly sleeves. Bags Unlimited has been they've been around forever, and they were pretty much the big dog as far as getting protective inner sleeves and outer sleeves for your albums. Several years ago, I backed away from Bags Unlimited because they were made in China, and I wanted to support domestic ones. And I found a place out of the Midwest, I think St. Louis, called Music Record Shop. They had a retail business, and they sold poly sleeves in bulk as well as in retail packs. And I started carrying them. They were decently priced. They're very good quality poly outer sleeves in 3 mil size. And I could buy them in bulk for $1,000 and still afford to put them on everything in our store that's $3 and up. I like doing that for the customers and putting them on. It keeps me from putting stickers on record covers. Also, you put them on the poly sleeve. I didn't want to do that, but my supplier, right before Record Store Day, I went to go a reorder on those because I'm running out of the bulk ones and I was out of the retail packs. They were out. It said sold out. And I thought, well, okay, I'll grab some Bags Unlimited to carry me through Record Store Day. Then I went back and they were still out. So I sent them an email. I said, hey, what gives? I really need some bulk sleeves for our store, as well as the ones to sell the retail packs. And they said they lost. I got back and they had were battling rising costs of plastic production, the poly production. And they were looking for a new manufacturer, is what I was told, because the cost of the old one had gotten a little too out of hand. So I guess they're still trying to do it domestically, but they're trying to find somebody that's not going to be charging a ton for them. So they said it's really going to be probably midsummer before they get that resolved.
Wow.
So you talked about if you're in the market for a turntable, like if you're trying to get a car and you want to be, and it's not just the tariffs on this because these things were made domestically, but it's probably the rising cost of the ingredients, if you will, that goes into making these that's causing that to happen. So I don't know if you're going to buy. I mean, when I went out and I thought I'm going to get some Bags Unlimited because I know that since those are made in China, those will increase in price like crazy until this mess works out. So I got 1,500 of them just to carry me through the summer in both the retail packs and the bulk ones that I've got. I'm using the retail packs for bulk until something can be worked out. But that's kind of mystifying to me because, the Chinese made stuff's going to go up, but apparently so is the domestically produced ones because they're obviously relying on some portion of that that's coming in from outside.
Sure. Or sometimes they just know those prices are going up.
Yep.
This is a chance. I mean, really, it is an opportunity that if you want to raise your prices, especially if it's a tight market where there's not a lot of competition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You have the opportunity, and there's not a lot of there's a few makers of, maybe there's more. I mean, I don't know.
There are a few, but there were a few that are not good also. They make them too snug, they're loose, or they're just kind of a crappy feel when it comes to some of those. And Bags Unlimited, again, to their credit, they still make a decent poly outer sleeve. They're just expensive. And the ones that I had been getting were not expensive. Where I think we're charging $22 for 100 versus 30 for 100 on the Bags Unlimited kind. But again, that's a bygone era now. All of a sudden, do you still protect?
And people, they watch the prices. Maybe they're looking at Bags Unlimited. Okay, this is how much they raised it up. We'll raise ours half that, so we're still cheaper. It's still a better deal, a better price. But it pads our profit margin because that's what we're in for, profit. That's the whole key. And there are opportunities to do that. My big interest will be just if things get figured out, will they actually drop down, or is this now our new norm?
Yeah, it's the same thing with the price of vinyl itself. In
Hmm.
some cases, it continues to either rise a little bit more, but we've talked about this several times because then all of a sudden you get these other artists or maybe things or properties that they've got their money out of already where they're releasing new types of compilations or others that have gone back down to that $20-$25 range.
Yeah.
I can't
I
figure it
was
out.
Yeah, I was surprised on your video with you're showing your new releases that were coming out, and there was a number of them below $30.
Yeah.
I mean, this is new stuff or reissues, but quite a fit. Unless you're Britney Spears, who went triple digit, but you got a book. I mean, you get a book with
Yep.
pictures of Britney, so my God,
That's the
let's
one.
go 100.
Here, let me get my X-Acto knife. That picture's
Yeah.
probably not going to be in there.
Yeah. And so, but a lot of these other records were coming in under 30, and a couple years, $30, what the hey? Well, now
Yeah.
it's like, wow, really?
Wow, a record under $30.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see where it goes. I mean, all of that is earth. Well, I mean, not all of that is earth shattering, but what is earth
Mhm.
moving?
Yes.
How is this? Did you catch this news the other day? There was a concert by Metallica, and I know this is kind of record related, but let's go here. Let me call this piece up here, Steve, because I found this tremendously interesting. Metallica was giving a concert at Virginia Tech very recently, and the fans responding to the song Enter Sandman jumped in unison. Now, I guess that they used the song Enter Sandman at the Virginia Tech football games. It's kind of like the football team's entrance song. Whenever they take the field,
Yeah.
the PA system plays Enter Sandman. So when Metallica played there, the fans went berserk and they started their little jumping thing. And that registered as a seismic event at a nearby station, geology station, measuring that.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, and that's a heck of a lot of jumping, and that must be a very sturdy stadium.
Yeah, it has to be. Holy smokes. The Virginia Tech Seismological Observatory recorded tremors peaking during the performance of Enter Sandman. So they estimated that the crowd, I've seen a couple different things. They said 60,000 people strong, but I've seen upwards of 65,000 people may have been there for that. But it obviously it's not earthquake, and it didn't say what it registered out at on the Richter scale, but I can imagine
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been more than a little blip, but still amusing to announce. And I think the news stories that take that and run with it, oh, they shook the earth. I was like, well, maybe they vibrated a little bit, but it was at least measurable, which is in and of itself a newsworthy event. How's that?
Yeah, it is. You wonder if Metallica up on the stage could feel that happening, just this little kind of tremor thing. It's pretty exciting to hear that. It's just some stadiums, though, I don't know if you'd want to do that in.
No, some of these older ones. Oh, they even have some graphs showing that they put the graph up there showing how that registered and where. Um, yeah, I would imagine. Oh, they've dubbed the seismic activity the Metallica quake of 25. Oh, here's the magnitude. The magnitude would have been less than one. They say too small to be felt even a mile away. So
Maybe that will be now just part of their charts when they measure quakes and stuff like that. If it's a very minor, that was just a Metallica quake.
well, you see now the heavy metal bands are going to have to try to outdo that, and they're going to try to one up
Yes.
Metallica on this. But that got me thinking too. There was another newsworthy event from South America regarding a concert, and this is I'm not a big fan of Lady Gaga's music, but props where prop is due here. She put on a free concert in Rio de Janeiro at the Copacabana Beach, and the concert drew a record-breaking 2.5 million people attending a concert.
So how do you count that? Is you got someone with a clicker out there, and I need
One,
another
two.
clicker. Yeah, and where do you put them? I just it's a free concert. Was it just open? Is it just you kind of someone's looking at it and go, Yeah, it looks like 2.5 to me. Okay.
There are places that do crowd estimates. I would imagine they'd have to go in that, but it's not even the biggest ever. But they say it's record breaking according to concert organizers. Gaga now holds the record for the highest attended concert by a female artist in history, a record previously held by Madonna, who drew in 1.6 million during a performance. Gaga acknowledged the crowd, said, "Your spirit has been heard around the world tonight." 2.5 million people. So she knew that that was in through there as well.
How do you leave the con? I mean, how long do you have to stay? I guess you just stay on the. It was on the Copacabana beach, I believe, or
Yeah.
something. I I guess you just sleep on the beach because to get 2.5 million through the the streets and the buses and stuff, that must have been god
Yeah.
awful.
The article
And
I'm
that's old
reading,
people.
yeah, the article I'm reading here from Variety magazine doesn't, they obviously don't get into the logistics of that because I'm not going to question whether or not it drew 2.5 million people, but
Yeah.
I have to question how that is spread out. I mean, is it a venue that holds that? Is it the venue? Then it is the overlying beach that they have video monitors set up a half a mile away, and then they counted that crowd as part of it. Because you almost have to. How in the world would you see something like that with that many people?
Yeah, well, there's no a venue of 2.5 million would be a would be a large city.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, oh my God. So it just had to been, yeah, how they spread it out with that, the screens. And there must have been a lot of screens everywhere because still 2 point. First off, that I mean, did they empty out the city to come in there? I mean, everyone. I mean, it blows my mind just to think of 2.5 million
Yeah.
making their way there. I
Yes.
mean, it'd be a hell of a time to be the guy selling some water or some soda or some snacks.
We're setting up a venue there, but you compare that, okay, compare that to the Metallica crowd that registered as a seismic event. The Metallica was 60 to 65,000 people. So now
Yeah.
you're talking a magnitude times to that in Rio to see Lady Gaga. It's astounding to me.
If Lady Gaga had known that, she could have got her people to jump up and down, maybe on Poker Face or something. Everyone, 1, 2, 3, jump.
We
Let's do
could
it.
could have knocked the earth off of its axis possibly if you do something
Yeah.
like that.
Create a tsunami
There we go. It's the
suddenly with all of
Gaga
this.
disaster of 25 instead of the Metallica
Yeah.
quake.
Oh my
So,
goodness. It's just mind blowing.
just to wrap this up, I don't think that I would venture anywhere near a crowd of 2.5 million people. So,
Not in a
oh, there was,
million
and
years.
I just remembered this too. There was a side note to that. Authorities thwarted a terror attack on that concert as
Yeah.
well.
Oh
So,
man, I mean, and that's lucky because talk about something open
yeah,
for that when you have that many. Oh my goodness. Wow.
would have been absolutely wild. Okay, well, let's take this week's episode in a complete about face. Just for a very brief moment, I wanted to talk about another avenue for picking up vinyl that's kind of a crapshoot. It could be cheap,
Hmm.
it could be expensive, it could be good, it could be not. And we've talked about thrift stores in the past, and we've talked about antique stores in the past.
Yeah.
Steve, is the idea of garage sale vinyl anything that is appealing to you?
I maybe one time in my life. My issue's always been I've worked most of my life Fridays and Saturdays.
Oh, okay.
So I don't do and I really don't like garage sales. I just don't. My wife does. She goes, "Let's go garage sailing." And go, why don't I just go down to the dentist and have them pull my teeth too at the same time? That way I'll have twice the enjoyment going on here. Yeah, I'm the guy. If I'm shopping, I know what I want. There it is. I'm buying it. I don't want to look around, especially at other people's crap. Now, if I'm having a garage sale, dang it, get there and buy the stuff. But yeah, it used to be a place where people would buy super cheap records. You would
Yep.
go in because it's just, oh, we gotta get rid of put a buck on each of them. Even when I had a garage sale, I mean, I was just blowing them out trying to get rid of the darn things.
It's always interesting because garage sales, and I'm like you, I haven't really concentrated on going to garage sales because I'm working on Fridays and Saturdays as well and Sundays. the store is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, there's not a lot of garage sale action on a Monday or a Tuesday. But once in a while, I'll catch them, especially if it's a perpetual one. But it has changed a lot, I think, too, because of the awareness of vinyl. It's a lot of them have gone the direction of the antique stores. Say, well, I've got a record; it must be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So once in a while, it's like hitting the thrift store lottery. You once in a while it happens. You find something cool, but more often than not, you're finding crap or overpriced stuff that would be good normally. Um,
Hmm.
Typically, I think that if a record collector is going to be selling their collection and they put them out for a garage sale, they're going to price them accordingly and they're going to be cared for. If somebody is just trying to get rid of stuff, they're going to not even look. They're going to throw it out there,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. You get what you get. Um, there has been times I've seen at garage sales where people will just put a box out. They don't even bother going through it. So if garage sailing for vinyl is your thing, you absolutely have to check what's inside of the covers, because much like everything else, if they're just tossing it out there, they're not paying attention, and it could be something completely different inside, or it could be completely beat up or broken inside.
Yeah.
It's not like they're a retail establishment that have to worry about the quality of what they're selling. They just want you to take their crap and get out.
Hmm. And and I've seen videos of people who go garage sales and find incredible albums,
Yeah.
just because the person had no idea what it was and out there. But there are a lot of others now. Obviously, you hear about, wow, that's really popular. Let's put
Yep.
up the price, though we have no clue about, I mean, which I get it. Why would they understand there's 100 pressings of that just
Yep.
from the United States alone? They don't know, and it's not their fault. We're just going to assume, and some people will still jump at it, especially those that aren't a serious collector.
Now, before I opened the store, I don't know if I've ever told you this story. In the probably the summer before we opened the store, we opened in a January in 17. So the summer of 16, we had a family garage sale at home and trying to get rid of some stuff as the kids were growing older and getting ready to take off and move away. And I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to try and sell a few of my extra records at this garage sale. I'm going to put out some stuff, but again, I was pricing them at that time, not having owned the store at all, but I was pricing them as a collector would. I'm going to try to get rid of some of these. $5 here, $6 there, and there was a couple of big ones, and they moved okay. I didn't put anything out, maybe about 60 or 70 records. And I had a guy show up at the sale, and he came in, he thumbed through the records, he picked two or three out, and then he looked at me and he said, "Okay, where's the stuff you didn't put out?" So this was a professional. This was an
Yeah.
absolute professional. And I said,
Uh-huh.
well, I've got some other stuff, but yeah, I didn't put it out because, that's my collection. This is the stuff I'm selling. He goes, well, what do you got? And so the conversation ensued. So what this ended up being was I sold one of my two copies of Pink Floyd's Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Back earlier then, I had a UK and a US pressing. Even before the store, I was hedging. These are my two collect. I know that these are good. And I let this guy talk me out of my UK press of Piper at the time, and I had
Wow.
regretted that for years. I got a good amount of money for it. 9 years ago now. It was triple digits, and he gave me a triple digit for it. But again, this was a
Wow.
professional zipping around in there, and then it took me several years to find another UK copy to replace that. But I
Hmm.
did. But that gets to this other side of things too. When I do go to a garage sale, occasionally I do, but when I do, if they have records, I'll poke around, and once in a while I'll do what he did. I'll ask, well, do you have any others? And sometimes too, if they don't have records, but I see stereo equipment or I see CDs, I'll say, do you folks happen to have any records perchance? Oh yeah, I think we got some down there. You want to look at these? It's kind of cool. I
Yeah.
don't I don't want to be too forward, but at the same time, I don't want to pass up an opportunity if there's something cool.
Hmm. Yeah. Very true. But wow, I've heard that from, I think, a few others, that people have asked, "What else do you have?"
Yeah.
and wanting to get in and just see. And yeah, that's interesting.
Funny part is that over the years owning the store, I recognize this guy. He has come into the store, once a year or so from them. I don't think he remembers me from the garage sale. Maybe he did. I don't know if he did. He didn't say it, but I was like, yeah, you talked me out of a OG Floyd, man. I hope you
Wow.
enjoyed it. And I
Yeah.
bring this up. I hit a garage sale last week, and I found a couple things. And again, I'm not expecting to come away with neat stuff. When I do now get the opportunity to stop at one, either before I stopped at the store, or if I happen upon a leftover one on a Monday or Tuesday, and I'm looking for the oddities, then I just kind of roll the dice and hope that it's something that's halfway decent. If I recognize something this is an ethical question, Steve. I don't know how I would act if I were to run across a super rare record, something I knew was tremendously valuable, and they had $2 on it or $1 on it. I don't know what I'd do at that point. I've never come across something like that, but it's always fun to wonder. He's like, oh, do I say, oh, this record's worth $500. I don't know. I would probably offer them 10 for it or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. That's probably what I would do too. Says, you know what? I want that. I'm going to give you a little bit more though. I think it's worth maybe $7. so,
Well, the extra ethical is for me, because I'd be bringing that back as a ROI, return on investment, if I pay $5 or something and sell it for 200.
Yeah.
Yay on me.
That's a good profit margin, man. They have really good profit.
Better than I get from distributors. So a couple things I found that I wasn't quite certain what they were. This one is it's an artist called Lily and Maria on Columbia Records. This is their only album. It was from the late 1960s. It's a Columbia 2i. And these were a pair of friends who did a short-lived folk act. And that was all this is the only album they ever put out. I haven't listened to it yet. Going to clean it up. It was $1 or $2, I think. And it clocks out at maybe $5 or $6 for the store. So still not too bad. Then I found this. Again, I look for the unique. These are interesting. This is a group called Cufflinks. Have you ever heard of them?
Never.
You'd look at this and say, okay, is this the name of the group, or the artist is Tracy and the album is Cufflinks? But that's not the case, because then I get this one and it's a group called the Cufflinks in through there. I had to do some research, but I thought, okay, this looks kind of fun. It is on Decca. So you've got the old Decca label in through there. It's bubblegum pop. The album is called Tracy, and the hit song was Tracy. The artist is, I forget his name on here, but he's essentially the Archies. He was the lead singer for the fictional band The Archies.
Yeah.
Created a band of his own called the Cufflinks and created bubblegum pop in and away from the Archies. So, $10 records, it's still not too bad. And again, they're in decent shape, which is kind of a rarity when you get to garage sales as well.
Mm-hmm. It is. Unless we have a garage sale, then they're going to get super good quality.
They are, but what are you going to get rid of if you do? Well,
yeah, and they're going to pay a lot more.
I could see somebody showing up to your garage sale, Steve, and picking up a Zamrock record that has been in the African desert for 50 years, picking it up and looking at it. You want $500 for this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you have to understand. Understand.
Yeah. You just don't get it. You're not deserving of that album. You can't have it. Well, I'll take it then. No.
No, that's how you get those records, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's an interesting concept. The whole idea of garage sales in and of itself. I mean, you're talking, it's a crapshoot. And if you're looking specifically for vinyl, I'm talking maybe 1 in 10 you'll find. But then when you do find it, it's kind of cool, unless it's garbage.
Yeah. So. And you got to get there early, because there are serious vinyl shoppers at garage sales.
And you know what? Yes, there are. Facebook hasn't helped. The Michigan Record Club on Facebook, by the way, during the garage sale season here in Midland, whenever somebody notices they notice a garage sale that has vinyl, they'll swoop in, they'll take what they want, and then they'll post, there's a garage sale, click, click, click here, there, they've got vinyl. And then it's a big swoop factor for everybody diving in for it.
Yeah. Yep.
Travels quickly.
It's like a Lady Gaga concert. Yes. Suddenly they all come in.
If you've got good stuff, then they will come. So,
yeah.
Okay, folks, I think that will just about do it for this week's episode of Two Guys Talking About Records. I know we kind of danced around with a few topics, but feel free, as always, to chime in. Have you ever had a garage sale find that made you go, oh man, I can't believe I got this? I may have had some decent ones in my past, but nothing that made me go, damn, and I walk away thinking I really got them, but still decent from there. But yeah, if you found something that's kind of cool, let us know. Also, feel free to chime in. Would you go to a concert with 2.5 million other people?
Boy. Free alcohol, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
Wow.
free concert, free Lady Gaga. Maybe that was enough
It was
to get
free
them
Lady
in.
Gaga. It was free, yes,
Yep.
but 2.5 million.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would be suspect and have to go look deeper. As I said, I don't know. I'm suspect as to how that pulled off that number, but
yeah.
here nor there, they
Same
did
here.
it. The news story made it true, so there it is. So.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Well, you folks have a great week, and as always, please feel free to connect with us on Facebook and or the comment section on either Spotify or on our YouTube channel. Steve, I'm going to hope that you get a good package next week, and you've got your addition count up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I told you I was working on just, spending, buying less. Hey, I did it.
You did, but then your schedule kind of comes into play, hopefully.
Yeah.
Too,
Yeah.
so.
That's beside the point.
It is. So we'll see what else goodies we got coming up. So, all right, folks, that will do it as we mentioned. Until next time, my name is Jim, and I own a record store.
I am Steve, and I'm a record collector.
Thanks. Have a great
See you
week,
later.
Steve.
Yep. Bye, everyone.